Good morning, this is Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncover No More. I said in YouTube 2 days ago that there's some things I can't write anymore, as in type, journal with my own hand, in my own hand. And it's because the concepts are breaking the boundaries of common American thought, even in colleges, institutions, places of business that are needing the educated to run them. And anyway, what is education but a form by which you and I are controlled? I'm not dissing you personally, whomever you are. I'm not dissing anything or anyone. I'm pointing to something rather large as an author, teacher, and student in a 56-year life. Today, I feel like Ecclesiastes. So I tell you what, since I'm working with, this is the dining room table from Ware Loop that's in my house, and this is who I'm working with, T.S. Eliot. And see, here's the thing about T.S. and I. We don't have a problem with the Bible. It's just the Western world that has a problem with the Bible. Granted, I had said, as I was going through another layer of work as a sorceress and an exorcist in 2022, that rendered my necessity of removing immortality from some people. Doesn't mean bad things are going to happen to them in this life. It means they're going to rest in peace, however their belief system wishes them. Did you know that there's some people that have had enough troubles in this life that they would rather just go into the dirt and become an animal? And they're good people. And what they do on the other side is they do become an animal that is never mistreated, that is either in the wild and not known about, or is domesticated and well cared for. The wicked destroy everything and everyone, and we are not they. And that is what T.S. Eliot's poem is about. This one, Choruses from the Rock. It was in 1934, he wrote it, and this is number 8 in this particular series. And I just chose to level it down to verse 2 of the entire poem. This is part 2. I have already read the poem. It is in a blog article that is not published yet. And I'm finishing the artwork this morning. I have Miss Peppermint. Actually, this is Mr. Peppermint. No, this one was Miss Peppermint. I have some male peppermint in my yard and some female. And this is female peppermint. She's in a earth box in my front bed and doing very well. One thing I'm grateful for in Texas, this area, is you can have multiple growing seasons. And so she made a comeback. And I also have dried herbs, many of which I will probably release places in loving memory of love. In other words, I will put them in the back of my car and release them at parks and whatnot and crumple them up and say, I love you, to the good people everywhere, because I love to go to parks and places. I would never do that around a coffee shop or something. That's a different sort of fellowship with real people. When I go to the outdoors, it's different. It's me, my beloved people who are with me, and the trees who know me and I know them, and the grasses, we know each other, and everything around us. I can't so much hike anymore. I have friends in the neighborhood, and we just take short walks throughout the days. It is better on our joints and our knees. Young and old, we're learning to not tax our body so much together. If there's one thing I'm sad about in this neighborhood, but only a teeny tiny bit, so I'm releasing this sadness. So I tell you what, my loves, I will choose one of my boxes of dried herbs. My exception is basil, because it does not regenerate. It has to be in the spring, summer. The herbs I'm talking about are lemon balm, peppermint, sage, basil, catnip, which is very good for fever, combined with lemon balm and peppermint. Did you know that? Catnip, peppermint, and lemon balm, if you combine them, someone is throwing up and stuff. So like you're rushing to the pharmacy as a mom and getting suppositories of Motrin and Tylenol and whatnot to help your child's fever stay down. 1 tablespoon of cooled peppermint lemon balm, 1 or 2 tablespoons of peppermint lemon balm, catnip, just swallowed as their fevered brow lifts up from the pillow every 20 minutes, in addition to the suppositories, nourishes so that they don't get quite as dehydrated, because they can't take in large amounts of fluid in the case of a virus that's hitting the stomach, the sinuses and whatnot. They'll just keep throwing up, which exhausts them and the fever rises. So helping them lie still, continue to get some fluid in. This is by doctor's orders years ago when I had children. I'm thinking of my Margaret. I miss her today. And once or twice she ran fevers and she was dehydrating at times. It scared the fuck out of me as her mother. And so I developed over time this herbal combination, and I remember we would wake up every 20 minutes and give her that, or just be right there every 20 minutes, give her that. And plus we would use suppositories across our children. I didn't know about that for a while. So Margaret, bless her heart, she may have thrown up, the liquid forms for children or something, because I didn't know about suppositories for a while, aspirin and whatnot. But when you have children that, younger to preteen, children, there are ways to give aspirin, and you tend to, if you're a mom like me, you tend to shy away from aspirin in the young years because of the Rett syndrome. So that's why I keep mentioning Tylenol and Motrin. And you can get some of that in suppository as well. If you hear me doing something, it's because I need to focus. I just missed my child and had to come back from that hell door and come out because I'm missing her today. And so I'm rearranging some art stuff, because when I do a piece of art like this, I can't begin to tell you, and I'm about to throw cards and I've already thrown runes. You have to have your art supplies organized. And my ministry is also traveling at times. You're hearing me talk about going to parks, so I will be doing that, just not right now. So I have a briefcase and two rolling bags, and they all have to have art stuff. But obviously this larger one stays home. It's huge. I considered taking it, but it's really too big, and I'm learning that my smaller works are what need to go, because I don't know why. That's just me. I see people who take larger things. That's not for me to do. That's probably because I need to sit a spell, drink my tea, and develop it over years. Excuse me, months. Every month is a year to me. My loves. So when I say years, I mean months. This is the sorceress. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you that. But this is part 2, and T.S. Eliot is here, so enjoy us while you can. I think I don't tend to see, and I have a whole bunch in this particular. Yeah, I have a whole bunch of them in this particular book that I need to redevelop and re-release. But here's the one I see. I finished that one and I re-released it. And this is poetry. But did you hear how many pages I went back? Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of these that are not finished. In my spirit, they're not finished. Yeah, no, they're not finished. And I may have to do additional. Oh, dear. Okay, here's 2 that are finished, and they've already been released at times. This was Peter, Paul, and Mary. An entire album. I was doing vinyl at this time. I had to release my desire to do vinyl because it's too expensive for my budget with all my artwork stuff and the books that I read. Now when we came here, this is what I did, and I added a little bit of stuff to it. This one was the pain coming forth. And the beauty when we moved here, because we had to give up our inheritance for the sake of the safety of our family. And now Aries, my son, is on the property, and we're doing well, he and I. But we need to stand strong for the family. There's still some other journeys of healing that are not as finished as his and mine. Aries do tend to move fast. This cup was lovingly given to me at a Starbucks, because they do know my ministry in some Starbucks. And I told them, right before they gave it to me, I told them about this pen. Isn't it lovely? There's cars with this color. I love this color. And lo and behold, look. See my love. See the color? It's right here. And so that's pretty cool, isn't it? This is another pen. It's a gel pen, another type of gel pen. Using that color. This one is finished. I just signed it Anne, not Tara Ann, which is my art signature. Yeah, so, see, I have a lot of work to do with this. And T.S. Eliot's, in a way, T.S. Eliot is instructing me, Kara, see how much you and I need to slow down in this ministry of yours. And I'm answering yes. Yes, sir, that's true. So here's something I want to talk to you about before I conclude. Do you see how I didn't blend? This really angers me. This literally angers me. I shouldn't have done this. And I heard a voice of myself say, Kara, but that's art. And there's nothing wrong with it. In other words, release your anger. There are definite breaks, all kinds of breaks in our world. And here's the point I want to make with verse 2 of The Rocks 7 by T.S. Eliot. It says here, "A moment in time, but time was made through that moment. For without the meaning there is no time, and that moment of time gave the meaning." Okay, everybody in the Christian world and post-Christian world just thinks it's talking about the death and resurrection of the King. But the problem is, if you go read the gospel record, if you go read all four of them about that, it is eternal writing. And they do this kind of writing like T.S. Eliot, where it happened before time began and after time began. It is one of those kinds of things. And I've actually enacted stuff like that. The program on Netflix Wednesday is showing that, even with children who are doing the best they can in love, in faith, hope, and love. The King certainly had a miracle, and it was one of his lives. He was born of a virgin. I know a lot of people who have miracle after miracle, including resurrections of the dead, like Mahesh and Bonnie Chavda. I don't think that the King minds me saying, we are we. Certainly, a virgin birth is never going to have happened but once, because he is the King. But certainly, how he keeps coming back is a mystery. How he traces his bloodline is a mystery. And if you think his is the only one, you're discounting the hard work of billions of people. Christians are navel gazers in the big buildings, the little buildings, the house churches. They're navel gazers. And what they end up doing is consuming one another in old doctrine. They start fighting and have to break up. And what do? They take their little old doctrines and they go establish a new church. And this is at least happening in the United States. I don't know about elsewhere, right here. Okay? And so I'm not a part of that. My dad ended up really struggling because that kept happening to him and it kept happening to us. And now I'm alone. I don't have any of my initial family. Mom, Dad, and my brother Patrick. I'm alone in that world. And yet I have a whole nother family. I was explaining to one of my adult children last night, making sure I wasn't offending anyone with the actions I'm needing to take. And he assured me I wasn't. I have these two lives, and they were clashing until now. We are we, and my children and Curtis and I are good at something that I'm going to bring forth for everyone, because I see people like my children, Curtis and I, all the time. All the time. This house is a Judah one. I do not encourage you to try to find your tribe that way. It takes too much skill. And the thing is you have skills as well, good person. And we need to focus on your good skills. There is such a thing as house of refuges. It's one house. It's many dwellings, and it's refuges. Did you know that there's trash even heading up those houses? I'm trash. I'm American trash. And yet I can tell you across the board that there's this huge ministry, world and time-wide, where we are a house of refuge from the wickedness and the dying generations. And some of those aren't even wicked. They're good people that are choosing dust is dust in their own core, and they become beautiful animals that are taken care of. Or completely on their own wild, and yet lovely. So I'm going to draw my cards, and I'm going to tell you that there's certainly one man who can say, I was born of a virgin one time. But I just would like to ask him personally, with a smile on my face, exactly how many times do you roll your eyes in a day, sir? Because you're tired of maximizing that excellent and beautiful miracle when we have all this other miraculous living around us, your life included, whichever one this is in this day and age. And I'm that Judah girl. I'm that girl. I go back in with the stupid people who only talk about that one miracle, like as if the rest of us are just shit. I'll help them along. I can guarantee you one thing, my loves. They're the ones that go into the ashes of the dirt and come back as animals that are either in the wild or domesticated and well treated. We leave the ugly mistreatment of animals and people to holy wickedness, and that is easy to see and do, and I don't want to dwell on that. They get enough media time, don't you think? All right. This is part 2 of T.S. Eliot's Choruses from the Rock, 1934. Number 7.